Welcome to Talk to Kimi. Today I'll be chatting with global singing sensation Horse MacDonald. But first, let's listen to her in action.
More beauty than your breath can take. Boats out to sea, goes in the air. I might look as if I didn't care. Careful with me, careful with my heart. World keeps turning, my world falls apart. When you're out of reach from it, when you're out of reach from it.
Hi Horse, how are you?
Hi there. I was going to say I'm very well, but I've got a bit of a cold, so I can't say I'm blossoming, but I'm surviving.
You're surviving, a little frog in the throat for company.
A little bit of a frog in the horse's throat, yes.
In this. Just to ask, when did you start to be known as Horse?
It was a kind of thing that developed over time from teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 13, I used to go to riding stables in my hometown, and I liked horses and didn't like the name I already had, so I said to people, call me Horse, and it started off not calling me that, and then eventually it stuck, and my mum and dad called me Horse as well, and it's on my birth certificate now, so I am definitely Horse.
You're definitely Horse.
I'm definitely Horse. The thing is that I think people immediately think of an animal with 4 legs, but after people have known me for a long time, it's not the image that is conjured up by saying horses. I like the name Horse. It's, if you remove the animal connotations, because it's strong and soft at the same time, which is, I think, a little bit like me.
You grew up in Lanark and you faced quite a lot of bullying and homophobia.
Yes.
What kind of impact did that have on you at a young age?
I think it's that, all the stuff that happened there has affected me throughout my life, because I think it gets at the core of you. It eats at your confidence. It eats at your self-worth. And I think that happening to you, especially teenage years, does affect you for the rest of your life.
The negative feelings that you've just mentioned, dear Horse, do they have any kind of influence over you on a day-to-day basis?
I do. If I'm walking on a street somewhere, I do feel very anxious if somebody gets close behind me. And people are not meaning to do that. People's natural distance between each other has changed dramatically over the years. But if somebody gets a wee bit too close, I get very uncomfortable, and it's just a safety thing that I've had from all those years back. So I'm left with that kind of thing.
Too often we hear of people who were bullied as youngsters end up in the wrong path in life and make poor and negative decisions. What made you embrace music?
I think my thought is that music is very, very much one of the most important things in our lives. There'll be people who say that they never listen to music or it's had no effect on them. But then they'll hear a piece of music and you'll get the feelings and the emotions of something that happened at that point, or people you knew, or music that they listened to. And I believe that the earth hums to the note of G. We, as creatures, have musical notes coming up from the planet and within us, I think. And in times of darkness, I used to sort of sit in my back bedroom with my little guitar and I used to sing. I used to listen to other people as well. And it gave me a lot of comfort listening to music. So I think it's a really, really important life force. And I obviously turned to it because I was quite lonely, and as I say, it was a comfort, and that's where, emotions that I had, and when I was singing, I think the two things began to develop from that point. Okay.
You said that you listened to a lot of songs in the back bedroom. Who was your biggest inspiration?
I couldn't say. It's funny though. I couldn't say that there was one influence, but when Bowie died a few weeks ago, I had a flashback to sitting in my back bedroom and having my record player in the arm back and listening to several albums. And I hadn't really thought about him as an influence or someone that I listened to. And I did have a flashback that it was him. There was no one individual. I think there was a clear, every sort of few years, there was someone I would listen to. I listened to an awful lot of people. And from the decades that they came from, is quite telling. Like, I like Kate Bush, I like Sparks, I liked LaBelle. Earlier than that, Laura Nyro. Guess lots of different people.
Okay. Going back to the group Horse, and then you had your break when you appeared on The Tube in 1987, which I suppose was the equivalent of today's X Factor, if you like.
Yeah, X Factor except people who played their instrument.
Well, and yeah,
and
people
wrote
that
their
have,
own songs, but
yeah.
I know what you mean. You mean it's like a tipping point moment.
Yes, and you missed out the part about having talent as well for half of the shows.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
hopefully that's the case.
So yeah, you get signed up by Capitol. Can you remember what you felt at that point? You know, did you think this is the big break that we've been waiting on? And
do you know, I've spent my entire career thinking, right, this is it now, this is the big break. And before that point, actually, we hadn't signed a published deal. So when we did that, the Tube switch jammed with phone calls saying, who is this, who is that? And there was no management, and we had a handful of things passed on to us, but with no management, nothing to kind of drive it forward or make use of that tipping point. We signed publishing, and from that point, it was the publisher that approached record companies.
Okay.
So from the outside, it would appear that the Tube was a tipping point, but it was a moment in time which we lost a little bit of momentum. We signed to Capitol in 87, actually December the 23rd, 1987, and that was probably one of the most exciting things, because it was Capitol and not, it was like Capitol, the symbolism of being signed to such a illustrious label was just thrilling, absolutely thrilling. And having had a journey, I mean, bearing in mind at this point, I was at least 28 years old and had been doing music since I was 17. And I know that Katie Tunstall signed record deals, etc., when she was 29. So we'd been writing songs for a long time and trailing up and down in the stagecoach. So it felt like, yes, as you say, this is it this time.
Okay. Then, you know, ultimately, I think the intention was to head to America at some point, and we then had the Gulf War. Do you hold Tony Blair accountable for the delay in your success in any way?
No, I don't hold Tony Blair responsible. Not for nothing to do with me, no, not at all. No, I think there's been a whole range of, in my timeline, there has been a whole range of things. We actually were in Germany first with Sweet Thing was out as a single, and the Americans wanted us to go to America, and we were doing really well in Germany with Sweet Thing. It was going up the charts, and the Germans said, stay here, work this record for at least 3-4 weeks, and it's going to go huge. And the Americans pulled us out, and within the space of a few days, I think, we were due to go out to America. It was like, get your toothbrush, get ready to go, fly back to the UK, and then go out to America. And then the Gulf War did break out, and basically the Americans in particular, weren't travelling anywhere, and people weren't travelling into the States, and it just began to grind to a halt. So I think there's a symbolism attached to the Gulf War happening, and things not going beyond that point. But I think it was just a kind of how would you say, logistics, timing of things, and also there was complications with our deal, because we were signed to Capitol in the UK, and Simon Potts, who ran Capitol in the UK, it was their first venture there. I don't think he was particularly liked in the UK, and there was a tussle between the States and the UK. It was just one of those awkward things, and I think anyone who signs a record deal, all these different things happen, and a lot of it is to do with who's looking after you, or who's driving at the record company, and we sort of fell victim to that several times with both major deals.
Okay, we'll move on from there, Horse. Over the years, you've toured with the likes of Tina Turner and B.B. King. Who would you say that you enjoyed the least touring with?
Oh, the least. All of those were great experiences, all of them, absolutely. I can't think of one person I didn't like. I really, really enjoyed doing the two biggest tours with B.B. King and Tina Turner, and Tina Turner's stuff was abroad in Europe, and that was a great experience to play to tens of thousands of people every night, and it was a nice audience. They were really interested in the music. B.B. King's audience was very musical, very into good music, so it was an appreciative audience, and I think we gathered a lot of fans from playing with B.B. King.
Right, okay.
but I can't think of one person at all that I didn't like. They were all very nice and generous people.
Mm-hmm.
I did have an occasion when I was recording in London at Utopia,
Mm-hmm.
and I later on supported Brian Ferry, but I was recording. I'd had an operation in my vocal cords, and I was stressed out of my head because I'd had this operation. I had to wait 2 months to sing the album, and I had no idea what my voice was like because I wasn't allowed to sing.
Mm-hmm.
I was allowed to warm up gently after 2 months rest. So I had no idea what was going to happen. Went down to the studio to record, and there was something wrong with the main desk. So people were under this desk for days trying to fix it, and I was getting more and more stressed. First day I went in to do my singing, I was in about 4 hours singing, which is a lot. And I come running out to get some coffee. There was a machine in the central area of the studio,
Mm-hmm.
in the hallway outside. And I could just see somebody pouring the last dregs of the coffee into the cup. And I started to yell. I was like, what the hell you bloody thing? And it was like, I'm terribly sorry. And it was Brian Ferry.
Oh,
And he said, I'm so sorry, will I make a fresh pot? And I said, oh God, no, I'm sorry, I'm just stressed because blah, blah, blah. But we got on really well. And I opened for him a few times.
Right, okay.
A few years on, so you had forgiven me for my outburst.
well, it was obviously a memorable first impression that you made.
It was all sorted, it was fine.
Yeah. Moving forward, you met AJ, and you returned back to Lanark in 2013 and got married.
Yes.
Was there any reason for returning there, Horse? You know, almost like the community that you left to escape all the negativity.
Well, in honesty, I'd moved back very briefly for about a year and a half, several years before, about 5 years before that, and then moved back to Glasgow, just because of circumstances. But my father was someone who did a lot of different things in town, and one of the things that he'd been involved in had been the New Lanark Mills and New Lanark in general. And because I lost both my parents, it felt very important to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like a combined event where I had AJ's family, I had my mum and dad there in spirit,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I had my family, and I was back to a place that I really loved the town. I really loved living there.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like I was reclaiming the place.
Okay.
And it was kind of like standing there and sort of saying, come on then, is there anything you'd like to say? But to be honest, people were very supportive. We had to keep it quite secret in the town that we were doing it because it just seemed like it was the right thing to do, just make no big flash about it, and just do it, and almost symbolically be there and do it. And of course, everybody heard about it afterwards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Staff were all excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
At the hotel. It was lovely. A really nice time we had.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Good.
And it just felt wonderful. It felt uplifting. And at the top falls, there's a little place called Tullyford, and my family on Sunday afternoons used to walk up and down there,
Okay.
around the falls. And so it just felt like a real spiritual thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
and reclaiming.
And obviously one of the best days of your life. Up
Yes,
till
I say that, but then I also have to say so far.
I was about to say up to this point.
Up to this point, because, yeah, but it was just the most, we were both trembling, and AJ's dad brought her along to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is, he kissed me in the cheek and didn't kiss her.
Oh, bless.
Yeah, but he was quite nervous as well, but she had similar experiences to me growing up, so I think for her that was amazing that her dad gave her away.
Yes,
And it just was such an uplifting family day, family and friends, wonderful.
And all the money and the success in the world can't give you what you found with AJ.
No, and I feel that life is a journey, and there are lots of different sections to it. And my dad used to say to me, you know, youth is wasted on the young. It's an Oscar Wilde quote.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was so bloody silly. And in actual fact, as I get older, I realise what it means. You never know when your time is, and when you're young, you just take things for granted. It's only when you start to live your life and have your journey that you start to appreciate things more and try to do more. And again, not about money. I mean, I get such joy from singing, writing and singing, and because other people do it gives me great joy that they do. It's a lovely exchange. I feel very lucky.
With your music, you're having an impact on people that may be in the next street, the next town, or across the water. So what greater compliment than people associating your music with their memories?
I think what's really wonderful is, again, it goes back to human experience, and I think a lot of people assume that my audience are women who are lesbian and maybe in their 40s, but in actual fact, I find that the most excitable people in my audience are men in their 40s and 50s and older, because men generally follow music much longer. Women fall away, and they hold their music dear. It's not to say that women don't, but audience-wise, they're so excited to meet me, and are so genuinely thrilled to have had the music in their lives. And one of the most recurring themes is that they've split up with somebody about 20 years ago, and they took Same Sky and got to a movie in their eyes because they can't find it, or they can't replace it. And it's a really, I can't explain it. It's funny because I feel that a lot of my life has been an osmosis. The things have happened, and I've kind of soaked them up physically and mentally, and I kind of pour them out in song. And I don't know how I do it. And I always say I'd rather not know and just keep doing what I'm doing, because it's come from, I do feel it's come from somewhere else.
If you could pick one of your songs, who would you like to sing it?
Well, it's funny, I've been thinking, well, I say we, because AJ and I do talk, obviously, especially about music. One of the songs that is from The Same Sky is called Breathe Me. And it's a kind of ballad, and it's been done in various different formats. And she's quite strong on this, but I do think that I would love to hear Celine Dion singing Breathe Me.
All right, okay.
And given her current place, I think it would be a great song for her. So that's one of the thoughts I've had. I think whether you like her as a person or not, she's a phenomenal singer. She's a singer, and I love watching her perform because she's such a skilled singer. She just, her whole heart goes into it. And anyway, so Breathe Me, yes, Breathe Me is one of them. Okay. Will Young already covered Careful. And I love the film of that. Very different. And when I do a cover, I like to do it mine. So whoever did one of my songs, I'd love them to do it their way, so that they made it their own.
Just on the same lines, is there any song from over the years that you wish, oh God, I really wish I could have recorded that?
Kind of recorded a few songs that I think are tremendous songs. Gosh, I can't bring any to mind at the moment, but there are definitely songs that, I also sang one of my all-time favourite songs is First Time Ever I Saw Your Face.
Oh, beautiful song.
To me, that's one of the best songs ever written. And I've covered it. I don't know if I've done it justice or not, but I think it's one of the most beautiful songs ever.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a song that you've recorded that you haven't done justice. Yeah, that's
very kind of easy. I think you don't really touch Dusty Springfield, and it's almost like she's got a catalogue, which is part of like her story. Years ago, I covered I Close My Eyes and Count to 10, which we put on the B-side of Forgiven, and it's such an amazing song. I don't see me doing another Dusty Springfield song unless I was part of some tribute thing. I don't mean a tribute act, but a tribute to her.
Yeah. Could you consider singing that one for me?
Well, yeah, I'll think about it. Yes, absolutely.
That's a diplomatic answer. I'll think about it. Yes.
Well, I just have to see. Yeah, it depends on what we're doing. When we're doing a massive show in Glasgow Natural, and I always like to do something different, so that if someone has seen a show before, then they'll still come because they'll get something else that they haven't seen before. Okay. And every time I strive to do at least two tracks that they don't know or they haven't heard us do before. So I'll often, I'll put a new song in, but also maybe put a cover or a B-side I haven't done in about 20 years, or just to do something that's different for the audience. So who knows?
So what's 2016 got in store for your fans?
Well, this year's a very, very busy year for me, but not so much touring with the band. It's about recording music, but also the Diamond Speaks project. Again, I can't say too much about that, but it's being taken a bit further now as well. The Diamond Speaks project, which I took women's words and composed music, and that's going a bit further on it again. I can't say too much about it.
Oh, go on, I won't tell anybody.
Yeah, right. That would be from the horse's mouth, really.
It would be, yeah.
So I'm actually producing an EP for somebody at the moment as well, which is the first time I've done any production, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the year, we'll be doing a handful of dates, and these are mainly Scottish dates.
Okay.
I'm going to America in a few months' time, mainly social, but we'll see what else we manage to organise. And then November, I'm going to be doing dates in Australia.
Oh, good. Mm-hmm.
Again. So it's just a massive, massive year. So not so much touring, but doing shows and expanding me as a performer into.
Okay, Horst, this is the part where I've had some questions sent in. What was the first thought you had this morning?
Perfectly honest, I was listening to a little thing called Spoonspace Steinberg on the iPlayer.
Okay.
And it was a very moving. So it sounds very highfalutin, but I was thinking what a wonderful story it was.
Okay.
It was about a girl who has autism. Yes, I can highly recommend that. It's called Spoonface Steinberg, and it was on the iPlayer about a little girl. Anyway, so that was my first thought. I put that on and I was listening to that. I was thinking, what a wonderful piece of writing.
Okay. If you could lock anyone in a room for a day...
Has this got to be... as long as it's not X-rated.
Okay. Right, we'll change that one. Right, if you could lock anyone in a room to torment them for a day, who would it be and how would you do it?
God, that's a difficult question.
I didn't say they'd be easy.
Gosh. Do you know, I just don't know. There are so many... If it was light-hearted, you know, you could think of something.
Yeah.
There's a whole load of serious ones that I would fling in there,
Yeah.
political things. The thing is, the X Factor thing is dying its death now.
Mm-hmm.
But my first furtive thought was, to fling the entire group of people that create that, like Simon Cowell and all of his people, and put them all in a room and ask them, to think on what they've done.
Oh, damn.
Because it's dying a death now anyway, and it's a natural thing because we've had enough.
I know.
The public have had enough of manufactured stuff. That's my first ridiculous thought.
Okay.
But there are obviously more serious ones that you put politicians in, or situations. Put them in a room and try and change them. Well, there's a corral around it.
Yeah, I think we need several rooms. Last question, Horst. Is there anything else that I should know?
Is there anything else you should know?
Yeah. Anything
in
else?
general or about me? I think my ultimate moments are often when I'm singing, because I forget things that are, that you shouldn't dwell on certain things, and so when you're singing you kind of forget about it. That's why people go to football matches, or they used to, football matches, or sing in choirs, or go to church, because there's this great stuff comes out of singing, and we should all do more of it.
Yeah, I mean, I go to Dundee United's games. Just because I like to be punished. But yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, when I go there, I can lose myself.
I think though, people, what hasn't died, and they said that would die, was people going to concerts. In fact, it's thriving now. There was a little dip a while back, but part of that is to see someone, and get that atmosphere which you don't get from television or a screen. And we miss that human physical experience these days because we're immersed in technology, and I think music again is one of those great things, or theatre,
okay.
But they're still thriving, which is great. I feel like I'm on a journey, and if I met the me from 40, even 50 years ago, would I recognise myself? So I think that I've gone through an enormous change, but I'm in a much, much healthier place, and I'm now at the point where I'd like to give back, for other people. And I try to do that a little bit, because it gives me great pleasure and enjoyment to see that something I've done has been good for other people. And I wouldn't have ever thought that I would feel like that.
And I think that comes with life experience as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think, because the kind of thing that I do is, I do when I'm writing or I'm working. It's very insular, it's very, inward, and then you go the opposite way and it all comes out. So you are sharing stuff that you've developed, and that's why I use the word osmosis. My friend Andy, and he's my sound engineer, we've been trying to find the word that describes how I write songs, and it's been and is an osmosis between feelings, experiences, and it just seems to happen. It's like a flower going. Imagine comparing myself to a flower. I also never thought I'd feel the way I did in my life about, my mum dying. She had cancer, she had ovarian cancer. Then my dad died like 6 weeks later. So that was a very powerful, emotional time for me. And the great feelings I had when in bereavement, other people listened to those songs I created. And I kind of talk openly about bereavement, how it felt, because I didn't hear anyone else do that, and it was such a shock. And what was amazing for me was through my sadness, and I think that's the thing, people don't talk, but by God, when you come to one of my shows, we talk.
You talk.
We talk. So that's
Okay, Horse, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I've loved it. I've enjoyed it. And as you say, shutting me up's an issue.
Not at all. It's been really, really good.
It's been my pleasure, and I hope people enjoy listening.
I'm sure they will. As much as I've enjoyed talking to you.